No buyers like underquoting. There's underquoting and then there's underquoting. And what I mean by that is that all agents will underquote to a certain degree. They're walking a tightrope between what they can get away with legally and how little they can quote in order to actually build competition for a successful auction. There's a dance of truth that goes between agents and buyers, and I may not like it, but I understand it. However, there is a breed of agents that will willfully and deliberately underquote throughout a campaign. They will actively avoid any attempts to increase their guide if appropriate, and they really do resist any efforts to provide meaningful guidance to buyers. Here's an example, a beautifully renovated home in a nice suburb. It's a sort of suburb where people spend a lot of money renovating their homes, but they do so to live in them, not to sell them. So you don't often see properties like this come on the market. So these 4-bedroom homes over 2 levels with 2 living areas, parking, pool, lovely landscape gardens, they don't come onto the market very often. And this type of home is selling between, say, $3.5 million and $4 million. Buyers are going to get emotional over this property. So what was the agent quoting? Well, in week 1, we can't give you a price guide because we're waiting on feedback from buyers. Oh, come on. You've had to put something on the agency agreement. You've told the vendor what you expect. You could give buyers at least a vague idea to start with. So week 2, the quoting is, well, we've got interest around 2.5 million. I'm like, what? You mean 3.5 million? No, 2.5 million. I'm like, that does not make sense. So I would do a bit of research. The most recent sale in that suburb sold a few months earlier for 2.4 million, but it was a vastly inferior property. Yes, it had been renovated, but it was still over 1 level and it didn't even have parking. This was going to sell for way more than $100,000 over that one every day of the week. These agents weren't making any effort to advise the buyers coming through the front door. They were just sticking to their guns. And this is really what infuriated me, because they had so many people interested in this property, as you would expect at that price guide, and people were spending money on building and pests. They were foregoing other properties that they had a better chance of buying, and they were putting all of their hope into getting this property. My clients are maxed out at $3 million, and I knew that they'd love the property, which is why I told them not to look at it, because I knew it would go over their budget. But they went and looked at it anyway, and they fell in love with it, as you would expect. So I wasn't going to take them down the path of paying for building and pests and doing all the due diligence. We really knew that there was very, very little hope of getting that property within their budget. So I said, right, let's put forward an offer in writing, because if they accept it, we will move heaven and earth to buy that property at that price. So we did. We put forward a written offer at $3 million. And this is where it gets fun, because legislation says that if an offer has been rejected, then the agent can no longer quote less than that offer. Paraphrasing it, of course, that's not the exact wording, but that's the intent. You see, it's compelling. The agent was so adamant about the price guide that I thought, well, why not? What have we got to lose? Let's give it a go. So this is where it gets interesting. They have a well-practiced way of dealing with offers. They neither reject them nor accept them. And so in their view, they haven't rejected an offer, so they don't have to increase their guide, and they can continue misleading buyers. In my view, it's a bit of a furphy. The solicitor has advised that the vendor should go to auction. I'm like, since when is a solicitor advising on marketing strategy? And since when does a solicitor advise on price? But that's what these agents use as a smoke and mirrors tactic, to avoid actually dealing with the offer that they've been given and to actually avoid saying it's rejected. It's not about price, it's about the solicitor's advice. Now, I'm calling bullshit on this. This is plain wrong. It's plain deceptive, and I believe it's plain illegal. Now, I'm not an advocate of dobbing people into the Office of Fair Trading, mainly because I think they're a toothless tiger. But I tell you what, if every buyer that encountered this sort of behaviour did dob these agents in, maybe they would have to step in and do something about it. This is not good for our industry. It's not good for buyers. I don't even think it's good for sellers. This property would sell itself, let's face it. It was a great listing. They didn't need to underquote it to get the result that they did. Now, I went to that auction. By my count, there were over 30 registered bidders. The competition was pretty ferocious, and it sold for over $3.6 million. Now, I'm all for more truth, transparency, and trust in the property industry. If you want to join the conversation, please leave a comment.